Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. What if 12 hours could rewrite a life's ending? Imagine the clock starting at midnight. Still eyes on a screen, candles on the pavement, questions multiplying in group chats. By noon, an official line appears. No criminal elements found. And the world is asked to move on. But a prominent Taiwanese lawyer refuses to. He points at the stopwatch and says, "Not so fast." Tonight, we walk the corridor between urgency and accuracy, between what is efficient and what is thorough. Because in high-profile cases, real investigations are not cinematic montages. They're carefully logged hours, documented steps, and verifiable results. If even one crucial step was skipped, then the story is not over. It's simply paused in the wrong place. This isn't about spectacle. It's about whether we can still trust the methods we rely on when stakes are painfully human. If time is the judge, then procedure is the witness. And both deserve to be heard in full. We begin with the few firm stones we can place our feet on. A talented actor, Yu Menglong, is gone, and the shock of that fact has not softened with time. An early statement told the public there were no criminal elements, and many tried to accept it because acceptance is easier than living with questions. Yet questions persisted. Viewers sensed the pace of the conclusion was at odds with the weight of what needed to be done. Proper scene preservation, a careful reconstruction of the final hours, the collection and logging of every item that might matter, interviews taken with consistency rather than haste, and a comprehensive medico-legal autopsy with documentation that can be examined, not merely referenced. These are not dramatic embellishments. They are the quiet steps that give a story the right to be believed. Alongside what is known sits what is uncertain. Online discussion has spoken of a mysterious USB. A device that, if it exists, has become a symbol for answers the public hopes still exist somewhere, intact and verifiable. At present, that symbol is only that, a symbol, because no court-ready accounting has been placed before the public. What we can reasonably ask for is not a confession from rumor, but a standard from process, chain of custody records, methodological summaries, and clarity on what examinations were completed and when. Without that scaffolding, even true statements struggle to carry their own weight. Another tension lives in the media landscape. Coverage in some quarters has been brief and cautious, while independent voices report difficulties gathering additional details. This is not proof of anything beyond the difficulty itself, but it explains why communities have turned to each other, building timelines, archiving links, and trying to keep the facts from slipping through the cracks of a fast news cycle. Families bear a special burden here. Their choices, requesting full medical and forensic documentation, seeking independent oversight where appropriate, resisting premature finality, can help anchor the narrative to evidence rather than to speculation. So the context, honestly held, is this: a loss that is certain, a conclusion that arrived quickly, a procedure that many hope to see described in full, and an audience willing to hold both empathy and scrutiny at the same time. We are not searching for villains. We are searching for the map. And until that map is published with the care such a life deserves, the fairest posture is patience, coupled with a principled insistence on methods robust enough to be trusted. A proper inquiry does not begin with conclusions. It begins with questions disciplined enough to be tested and tender enough to remember that a person has been lost. In the first hours, the task is to secure the scene, not the narrative. Cordons are established, entry and exit points logged, and a contemporaneous record begun so that every footprint, every photograph, and every decision can later be explained. Chain of custody is the spine of the truth. Each item collected is labeled, sealed, signed, and time-stamped so that its journey from discovery to analysis is transparent and reproducible. The medico-legal autopsy, led by a qualified pathologist, is not simply a ritual but a method. A full external examination with high-resolution photography and injury mapping. An internal examination that documents organ weights, fractures, hemorrhages, and microscopic changes, and a complete toxicology screen chosen according to history and scene context, with appropriate controls. When indicated, specialists contribute, radiologists with post-mortem CT to reveal subtle fractures or air emboli, odontologists for identification, and histopathologists to distinguish ante-mortem injury from post-mortem artifact. Parallel to this, investigators conduct structured witness interviews that capture not only words but timings, locations, and corroborating materials such as device logs, CCTV metadata, and transport records. Each investigative strand is tied back to a master timeline, revised as new information arrives, so that apparent contradictions are not ignored but interrogated. Where conflicts of interest might exist, independent oversight is not a luxury. It is the guarantee that findings can bear public scrutiny. Interim communication should be factual, limited, and clear about what is known, what is not, and what tests are pending, because premature certainty invites error and erodes trust. If digital material is involved, forensic handling means right-blocking originals, working on verified bit-for-bit copies, and validating integrity with cryptographic hashes. If biological material is involved, preservation means avoiding hasty cremation until the suite of examinations is complete and documented. A proper inquiry accepts that thoroughness takes time and that the slow accumulation of small, accountable steps is how justice learns to stand. It keeps receipts for every decision, welcomes peer review, and leaves behind a record detailed enough that another competent team, months or years later, could retrace the path and reach the same destination. That is how an investigation honors both science and grief, by refusing to confuse speed with care, and by letting evidence, not anxiety, write the final line. Amid procedures and PDFs sits a human being who once stepped quietly onto sets, learnt lines in the half-light, and treated crew with everyday kindness. Colleagues recall a calm professionalism. Fans remember gentle eyes that made fictional worlds feel safe. Grief is not a trend. It's a private room where time loses shape. And yet, art has always given us language when words fail. In vigils and fan art, people try to keep the warmth of his presence from slipping into the cold. This is why process matters. Because truth, when properly found, becomes a form of respect. It says to the family, "We took the long road for you." It says to the public, "We will not be casual with losses that are not ours to minimize." In this chapter, we hold a moment for you, not as a headline, but as a person who built something soft and good in a hard industry. Pursuing clarity is not morbid. Done rightly, it is an act of care. Why does a rumored USB capture so much attention? Because in a digital century, storage devices feel like tiny vaults where answers might live. But there's a crucial difference between symbol and substance. In real digital forensics, investigators examine metadata, creation and modification times, device logs and cryptographic hashes, unique fingerprints, to prove files haven't changed. Proper practice stores originals under write-block conditions, works on verified copies, and records every step to maintain evidential integrity. If a device exists, the right path is independent custody and verifiable audit trails, not rumors that fray public trust. Media literacy matters too. Screenshots without context can mislead. Time zones can warp timelines. Compression can alter visual artifacts. We don't chase shadows, we ask for methods. The responsible question isn't what's on the USB, but can any digital evidence, if present, be authenticated to a standard that would stand in a serious review? That is how we turn a symbol into something that can actually help. Let's walk 3 careful paths without accusing anyone. Scenario 1. The process was adequate but poorly communicated. If so, publish a clear procedural timeline. Which examinations happened when and by whom? Explain why the 12-hour figure appeared and what it truly meant. Scenario 2. The process was incomplete. Here, a supplementary autopsy with independent observers could answer lingering questions. Transparency reports can restore confidence. Scenario 3. The process was compromised hypothetically. In that case, establish a special review panel, protect potential witnesses, and guarantee independent storage and analysis of any digital or biological evidence. New practical idea for viewers. An integrity checklist. A simple document families and advocates can request anywhere. It lists reasonable asks such as redacted autopsy summaries, chain of custody logs, contact points for independent oversight, and a publication timeline for non-sensitive procedural details. When outrage is high, structure is mercy. It gives people a path that is firm underfoot, leading from emotion to practical, ethical action. The internet moves faster than due process. Names, including Sue and Tan Song-yoon, circulate in public chatter, sometimes with little more than proximity or conjecture. Our channel does not equate virality with proof. At present, there are no verified court findings tying named individuals to wrongdoing in this matter. Here's the principle. Critique process, not people. Pursue evidence, not targets. Harassment isn't truth-seeking. It's harm. For creators, the safest path is to foreground procedure and expert frameworks. How inquests are run in various jurisdictions. Why independent observers are sometimes invited. How conflicts of interest are mitigated. Audiences deserve clarity without cruelty. If a name appears online, we treat it as unverified discussion unless supported by credible, citable documents. In complex cases, the strongest stance is not the loudest claim. It's the careful standard. That standard protects the innocent, focuses the conversation, and keeps doors open for real updates, should they arrive. Rage burns hot. Discipline burns long. If you care about this case, here's how to help constructively. First, support calls for independent oversight, rather than feeding unverified claims. Second, practice calm documentation. Timelines with dates, archived links, and saved pages that include source, timestamp, and context. Small habits that prevent confusion later. Third, language matters. Avoid defamatory statements, report doxing or threats. Keep comment spaces safe for dialogue and grief. New segment idea for our channel. A weekly transparency tracker. We'll summarize verifiable developments if any, clarify rumor versus fact, and invite short explainers from experts. A forensic pathologist on what a standard autopsy includes. A digital analyst on basic metadata. A legal scholar on what obstruction means in general terms. This is how communities mature, by choosing method over mayhem. If truth is a destination, these are the signposts that keep us from getting lost together. Justice isn't a feeling, though feelings can lead us to it. Justice is testable. It's the autopsy report that lists methods, the chain of custody log that closes gaps, the timeline that is boring precisely because it is complete. When we ask for independent observers, we are not dramatizing, we're safeguarding. When we caution against rushed conclusions, we are not cynical, we're careful. To honor Yu Menglong is to refuse both sensationalism and silence. We remember the man and insist on the method. We admit what we don't know and hold the door open for what could still be learned. If the clock says 12 hours, let the files say why. If the public is asked to trust, let the process be worthy of that trust. In the end, truth should not need to shout, it should be able to stand. And when it stands, so do we. If this episode helped you think more clearly, please subscribe and tap the bell so you won't miss our careful updates. Your thoughtful comments make this community kinder and smarter. Thank you for the time and respect you bring here. We'll continue to follow credible information with compassion and discipline, and if verifiable updates emerge, you'll find them here first, explained plainly and fairly. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and remember, clarity is an act of love.